Yes, we are talking about grief today, but I want you guys to remember and understand that grief can be the loss of a job that you loved, it could be the loss of a marriage, it could be the loss of a house. It's just the loss of anything. And I read a quote once that said that grief is nothing more than love that has no place to go. But today, we're going to talk about the loss of a loved one. Hey, best friend, and welcome back to Positive LMY. My name is Adriana Kia, and I am the founder. So, as you can tell by the title, today we're going to talk about grief. I lost my grandma in August of last year, 2020, and I lost my dad September of 2020. And I struggled with that a lot because I had never lost anyone that I was close to ever, like in life. So I didn't know how to deal with it. So I did a lot of research on grief and how to deal with grief and how to cope with grief. So today won't be a video about how you should deal with it. It's basically about how I did. I'm going to talk to you as if I was talking to my best friend and give you just some tricks that helped me. So the first thing I did was to look up the 5 stages of grief. And it's important to realize that the 5 stages of grief are not linear, which means it does not happen in a straight line. You see, like you definitely, I'm outside, so I know you guys hear the sirens. Sorry. Okay, so the sirens are gone. So we were talking about the 5 stages of grief, right? So the first stage is denial. Not believing that your loved one is gone, not believing that this could be happening to you. Then anger, you're upset. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Bargaining. Oh God, if you just give me back who I lost, I would stop doing this. Depression. Why should I go on? What am I feeling? And acceptance. I'm okay. I'm okay in the world today. So it's important to know that you can feel acceptance one day and go back to denial the next day. You can feel acceptance 1 minute and go back to denial the next minute. And I smile, but I go through this a lot. There's quite a few days where, I'm kind of still expecting my dad to walk in the door. I'm expecting him to tell me how dialysis went. We're just going to talk about things that I did to help me cope, and hopefully it can help one of you or some of you. So the very first thing is I'm in nature. Just being outside, being taken in the sun and in the fresh air, it helps me a lot. As you can see, I'm wearing one of his shirts. The best dads get promoted to grandpa. So wearing his shirts definitely helped me. Just to feel closer to him. Somebody might have lost someone and they had a certain scent that they wore. That would help to smell that scent, to put it on a pillow and hold that pillow. Going the places that you guys might have went when they were still alive. And finding like different hobbies. But one of the main things that helped me was therapy. So initially I didn't want to go see a therapist because I felt like, oh man, therapists, they use those $5 words, and I already know what a therapist is going to say and this and that. But I talked to my therapist and I told my therapist, hey, my dad died, I'm not doing so good with it. And I asked my therapist, how can I deal with grief, how to deal with grief, even with the research. But one of the things that she told me that really helped me a lot was my woulda, coulda, shouldas. So that woulda, coulda, shoulda, if I would have told my dad to sit down, he wouldn't have fallen out and hit his head, and if I would have taken him to the hospital when, he didn't look right to me, things like that. Blaming myself because I was the one that was here when he passed out. And so I blame myself for not doing things, not being proactive, but being reactive to the situation. I was able to give him CPR. I was able to call 911 and do all of those things, but it still felt like I didn't do enough. So she said to replace that if, woulda, coulda, shoulda with even if I had of. So in my mind, even if I had of told my dad to sit down, he still would have had to get up to walk in the house, and he could have fallen out then. If I had of gotten him to the hospital, it was still his time. It was still his time to go. So, I accept that he's no longer hurting, he's no longer suffering, he's no longer in pain. And somebody out there, may think, well, my loved one wasn't hurting, my loved one wasn't in pain, my loved one died suddenly. And for that, I will tell you to do the next thing I did was to pray for comfort, pray for understanding. Pray that, your mind will be at ease with losing a loved one. Pray, whatever higher power you pray to, just pray and meditate. Meditate for peace within. Meditate for a calm mind, a calm body, a calm spirit. Sometimes before I go to sleep, I pray that I will see my dad in my dreams, and then I would sleep with an amethyst in my pillowcase, or if I'm real still, I could feel my dad's presence. And I know some of you like, oh, she believe in ghosts. No, well, maybe, but I do. Like, I feel his presence sometimes. Like, a funny thing happened when he died. Like a week later, that we had like issues with the lighting in the house, and I was outside one day and the garage light started flickering. I was like, all right now, Daddy, I see you playing with me, just because we had that joking relationship, and even in death I still tried to maintain that joking relationship. Guys, let me know, what kept you going, what keeps you going, what are you struggling with, how do you get through? I asked a friend of mine, she lost one of her parents. How did you make it? She said, every day. Every day you have to tell yourself that it's okay. All right, guys, so in my research, I learned about the box and the ball theory. So let's say you have a box, right? And that box is you. And in the corner of that box, you have your pain, and I'll do it in red. That's when you feel pain. And then inside of your box, you have your circle, which is grief. I'm gonna label it G for grief. So when you initially going through grief, the grief can be so much bigger than you that no matter which way you move, no matter what you do, it triggers that pain. I remember when my dad first died, every day I was in pain. Every day I was sad. Every day it just seemed like, why did my daddy go? What could I have done differently? It hurt every single day. There was pain. But as time went on, I had my box. I still have pain receptors, but now my ball is smaller. So now I have a smaller ball. It's less overpowering. It takes me over less. And I know those are like crappy drawings, but pay attention to the message. So I want you to know that I got the question once, when am I going to stop grieving? And I asked that question when my dad died. I asked, when will it stop? The truth is, it doesn't go away. It gets smaller, but it does not go away. And now I can move certain ways, I can go certain days, but eventually, just like the ball in the box, eventually my pain is triggered. And I just want to give you guys hope that it's manageable. And if you just lost someone, or if you just lost a job, or just lost your house, it seems like it's too big for you to handle, and it won't ease up, it won't stop. But I promise, if you hold on, it gets easier. Your load gets lighter, and the days get better. The healing happens with time. You just have to give it time. I lost my dad September of 2020, and that's a day I'll never forget, and the week leading up to that I'll never forget. It's embedded in my brain. One of the things that I wanted to mention to you guys is to know your triggers, and know how to cope with them. So for me, hearing the sirens of an ambulance triggers me back to the day where my dad was rushed to the hospital. And I usually just close my eyes and I tell myself, everything is okay. But that does not mean that every time I hear a siren, I'm going through that. But like the ball, it just depends on where the ball is in my box if it triggers me. Father's Day is coming up, so that is a trigger as well. This is my first Father's Day without my dad. So I just want you guys to know your triggers and know how to cope with them, because in real life, triggers happen. You will be triggered with sadness. You will be triggered with anger, with grief, and just figure out what helps you to cope, what helps you to be okay with things. And if you have anything, comment down below. Like, it might help me, it might help someone else that's reading the comments. Let's help each other.